Say no.
No, there's
Just
no
say no.
option. If I'm doing one, you're doing one. That much is certain.
It's the Me Too.
Jeez.
The Me Too movement? Is that what you just said?
Say no.
You guys are terrible.
Are we live?
Did you hear the soothing intro?
This.
You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Good morning, everyone. I am Paul Apostolakis. I've got Salvatore Kuzmano, Mr. Brad Weisgerber. How are you guys?
Good. Good.
Okay, very good. Special guests today, Mr. Darren Petterfee and Ms. Nicole Pfaff. with a silent P.
Silent P.
I was specifically
Sold by
told.
Silent P.
Yeah. So, today we're going to have a great show. First off, obviously, everybody that's listening, all our supporters, please go on our website, irepodcast.com. Like us on Stitcher, iTunes, iPod stuff, all that stuff, right?
iPod stuff.
We're all over the place. For everybody.
Does anybody even have an iPod anymore?
No.
I don't think
No.
so.
Don't exist.
Yeah.
You have an iPhone.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
actually,
that kind
yes.
of replaced that,
Yes.
right?
Probably many old men. You know, I mean, I could see them just.
Why
yeah,
are
I
you
got
looking
this-
at me when you
they
say
got
that? Al?
All right. The show's already gone to pot.
Yes, people still have iPods.
Today we're going to talk about some interesting topics. We're going to talk about Zillow. They're doing some real good stuff for us. We're going to talk about pot in Michigan just passed through the elections.
Legal.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little
Not
bit about
quite
the
legal
economy. Doing really well as far as jobs goes. But first and foremost, I want to start with Darren and Nicole. We'll start with Nicole since you're new to the show. Welcome. Nicole, tell us about your background, what you do, how you do it, why you do it.
I've been doing real estate for 5 years. I sell about 125 houses a year. I've got a small team, an
Yeah.
assistant, a full-time photographer. I've got 2 marketing people and a couple of buyers agents. So-
Awesome.
And a moving truck.
And a moving
With a
truck.
Oh, I
face
saw
on
your
it.
moving truck. So this is
Yes.
genius, by the way, and we'll get back to you in a second. But I saw this picture of this moving truck that she has, and it's got your mug on it with
Yep.
it's like the best. So imagine like people are moving out of their house out, and there's this like calling card of this truck that's being filled with just your face in it. It's just like
It is.
it's a really smart move.
So after I bought my house, I was driving past the house to show my kids, and this moving truck was in the driveway with Nicole's face on it. And I called Paul immediately. I was like,
This
there's
is genius.
There's an effing moving truck with the realtor's face on it. It's absolute genius.
Yeah,
I think the words were we need to buy Darren one of those.
Yeah, I called you second. I was like, Darren, how come you don't have a moving truck?
yeah,
What inspired that? Just
smart.
had an idea, or
Who was I met with, I don't remember who I met with. Somebody brought it up that a realtor did it in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now their insurance is a little probably cheaper down there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the insurance is a little different up here. But somebody brought it up, and I was like, that's not a bad idea. And
It's
I got a
genius.
steal on it.
Yeah.
I got it from, I was passing a dealership, and I called the owner. I won't even say. I called the owner of the dealership.
He was
and
drunk.
He was a little tipsy on wine at 3:00 in the afternoon.
good for him.
Yeah,
Respect.
right? Who does that?
Good for him.
And
Yeah.
not you.
Not like shots in the
Not
morning.
you. And I called him, and I'm like, well, I walked into the dealership, and the guy was like, there's no way he's going to give it to you for that. It was listed 10 grand higher than
No, really.
yeah, than what he offered me. I was like, all right, just let me know if he wants to keep his word.
Ah,
And
the benefits
next
of
morning
being,
at 9 a.m.,
benefits of
all
being a
being said.
girl. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
come on by, I'll give it to you. Darren, what about you? What do you do?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I've got a team of agents that make me look really good.
Yeah.
If it was on my own, I'm not quite sure that would happen.
For sure.
But I've got a great assistant, a team of some inside sales agents. I've got 6 agents that work for us now. So, just making dreams happen, man.
That's
just
awesome.
going out and we focus on the list side of things and selling homes more so than the buy side because we specialize in that aspect of
Right.
it. And by doing so, we can help more folks be able to get top dollar for their
What
home.
office are you guys out of? Just let everybody know.
Grand Blanc
Grand
and
Blanc.
Clarkston.
Grand Blanc and Clarkston. Good markets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. All right, guys. So I do want to get into these topics. We'll start off with Zillow, which I think is interesting. So Zillow has now expanded into another market. for this buy now kind of. What they're doing is they're creating a marketplace where if you want to sell your house, they'll pay cash for it and just buy it off of you, right? So they just expanded to Houston, which is actually the 4th largest city in the country. So
Did you Google that?
huh?
Did you Google that? Make sure.
I Googled it. Yeah, I did. I Google everything, man. So, so just to give you guys an idea of what's going on with them. So they've expanded now. They're in Phoenix, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Denver, Charlotte. They're going into Raleigh in North Carolina and Charlotte, North Carolina. They've already had 20,000 requests for people to buy their houses. Consequently, they also bought a bank because they believe that the mortgage side of it. They basically want to do everything in one place, right?
Yep.
And
Which is not a good thing for a consumer.
Oh, probably not. No, I would agree with that because they're not going to get the best deal. Whatever. We'll get into that. But my whole point with it is, what a lot for the audience and anybody that's not in the industry, what they might not understand is a lot of real estate agents pay into Zillow to buy their leads. They basically are funding this, and we've talked about this in the past. They're funding this business model.
The realtors are.
The realtors and us, because we do co-marketing on the mortgage side.
Yeah, we're funding them to do all this stuff.
We're funding them to replace us, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What I
idea.
think the biggest challenge, though, of Zillow would be, there's a lot of people at Zillow, I'm sure, that have been in the industry before, but I mean, on a scale like that, the amount of
Selfies.
human intensity that's involved, right? Like, you're buying someone's house. It's not like you're going and buying like one of their watches or something like. These people have to move and they have to do something like that. You got 20,000 people. Yeah, I mean, I think they've underestimated the amount of human involvement.
I don't think they've underestimated shit. I think they're very smart and they're thinking about all this stuff right now.
Seems very well planned out.
It's not. They're not just a fly by night like,
Right.
hey.
Well, I don't think but I think that there are so many things that happen, in the business and in a transaction when you're selling and or buying your house that I don't know if they're necessarily prepared to handle that all from a call center.
Not yet, but they're working towards it.
How much boots they have on the ground, I think, is going to.
Well,
make
all
or
they're
break
going to
the
do is create. They've created a dependency from real estate agents, and you guys can talk about this, Nicole and Darren, where they've got you hooked on the drug, where you need the leads because they're buying leads and all these buyers from Zillow. So all these agents are paying into Zillow. They're creating a dependency on Zillow, and then they're going to create a marketplace where now potentially, as a real estate agent, if you want to work with them, you're going to have to make less money on these transactions.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just really, and nothing's changing. Nobody's rising up and saying, "Hey, we're not going to use Zillow anymore." So it's either you try to fight against it or assimilate to it. But I really think if I was NAR or like an association built for real estate agents or even mortgage associations, why aren't we saying something like, "Hey, dude, chill out. Like, you're trying to take our jobs." Wouldn't you agree with that?
And I agree with that because there is a battle. There's a battle going in on the backside.
But it's not even a battle. You're giving them you're funding their weapon.
It's not much of a fight.
You're right. Well, it is and it's not. Okay, so you're right. There's a lot of data and let's face it, he who owns the data owns the market, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Look at Amazon. Amazon has exploded because they own the data.
Is it data or data?
Potato.
Nicole, data or data?
I don't think anyone says
I
potato.
say data.
Data.
Nobody
Data.
says potato,
Data.
Darren.
I go
It's
data.
data.
I think data too.
I say
Or
data.
data. I like data.
It's okay.
Data.
sounds good.
Data.
So data, they own the data. So that's where the battle is. The battle's in the data. Data. Thanks. You got me all screwed up now. So you look at Amazon. They're buying the data. They own the data. Amazon is actually way scarier than Zillow is. Amazon is going to dive into the real estate market within 2019.
For sure.
And they're
Everybody
way
is.
scarier than Zillow is because they have more data than Zillow does, right?
And money.
And money, exactly. So one of the things that you watch for in the backside of all this is who's going to rise up and own the more data, own the most data, and then control the data.
Google.
Okay. Google's pretty crazy too. One thing that we're fortunate with Keller Williams is Gary Keller is on the front side of that and battling that side with Zillow. Zillow doesn't own any of our data. Their agreement is they don't own any of our data itself. So all the other big agents, they Century 21, Remax, Berkshire, they own all their data. They don't own ours. So there's this battle going on who owns the most data and what's that going to mean.
What's interesting though is and I mean this is kind of off topic to a degree, but like once it goes on the internet, it's like it's basically anyone's, right?
Right.
So I wonder if there's like data aggregators out there pulling everything that's ever hit Zillow, even though it's your data,
Yep.
right? They could easily trace and probably track all of that.
Oh, absolutely. They're, and everybody's data mining everything.
It's absolutely insane. I actually found an example of this yesterday. I was on Facebook sitting at the Secretary of State in line somewhere, but I was diving into the rabbit hole of Facebook privacy and looking through like their ad settings.
Only you would do this.
I have
Yeah, I
no
was gonna
idea
say,
what
this is
triggered
very
me to do it,
Brad.
but I did it. And you can see a list of Facebook advertisers that have used your information or have your information from a list that they bought. It's a massive list. You guys should check it out one day because it's crazy.
Nobody owns the data, dude. Zillow owns the data. What I mean by that is, yes, there's a premium on data. But what I'm more concerned with today is, as a real estate agent, do you assimilate with it and try to just basically cut your margins and do more volume because Zillow's going to feed you a little
So
bit?
what's going to happen is these agents are going to become Zillow agents.
Right,
They're
that's
no
what I'm
longer
saying.
going to be an individual agent. They're going to be a Zillow agent.
Right.
And that lead's going to come to Zillow, and Zillow's going to process it, and they're going to reach out and say, hey, Bob Smith, whatever, Darren Petterfee, Nicole Pfaff, whatever.
Faff.
Silent P.
Pfaff,
Yeah.
silent P. Hey, we're going to feed you leads now. Instead of charging you per month, we're just going to give you 20%. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to keep 80% and you get 20%. But we're going to give you the lead. It's already pre-qualified. It's already ready to go. Here's the house they want to buy. You just got to go show them. So
Redfin's doing that.
They're all going to be showing agents. Do you disagree, Nicole?
To an extent, I think a portion of them will. Like for me, I purchase Zillow leads.
Of course you do. Everybody does.
He doesn't,
I don't.
which I
You
found
don't?
No.
that I found that
I don't.
very surprising that he doesn't.
Yeah.
All
But
my
I
leads are
started-
organic.
Yeah, I
Wow.
started 4 years ago
Right.
purchasing them. So I've been in the business for 5. I started 4 years ago.
It's expensive.
It is expensive, but I only
it's gotten
started
more
out
expensive.
spending $300-400, and now I spend $1,500.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
question:
So-
is the juice worth the squeeze every month, right? And are the leads drying up? Do you got to call and beat your rep
The
up?
leads are drying up.
What zip
Yeah.
codes are available? Should I switch it up? It's like
So-
every month you're modifying your spend.
Correct. And you do have to modify it. You have to keep track of it. Now, I'm 94% referral basis, so I find it easy. So out of 125 homes, I can see where other agents get stuck on, is the ROI high enough? So
well, if that's 12 deals a year, right?
correct.
for you-
And if you're making an average of $5,500 a deal,
1,500's worth it.
Correct.
4K positive every.
so I get it. But is another source giving me leads at a cheaper rate that I could take that $1,500 and plug it in here and make that ROI higher?
What's,
And the
yeah,
question is,
yeah,
is
yeah.
But
with
you got to
that-
sit down and think about that, and the majority don't, because until 2018, so my first 4 years in the business, 3 years on Zillow, I probably didn't think of it that way. I thought of it as, oh, hey, I'm spending $1,000 on Zillow. Okay, so that's $12,000, so I'm making this, so I'm fine.
Well, it's not
Right.
even thinking about it. It's interesting because every agent is essentially they're a business owner. You own your own business. You own your own business.
Yep.
You work for Keller Williams, but
Right.
you
Essentially.
run your own business, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's comes back to data, right? You can't just think about, well, is Zillow going to give me a better? You have to have data behind it to make the decisions, and it's just crazy where we're at these days. So like, I find it really interesting that you don't buy Zillow leads, but you do, because in my head, as a buyer, right, a millennial, the first thing I do when I want to buy a house, I'm going to look at Zillow.
It's the first place everybody goes.
Everybody goes there,
Yeah.
so it's really surprising that you.
And I don't even know
buy
if they
that.
necessarily go to Zillow. They might just Google homes for sale,
Yeah,
buy
Zillow
a
pops up.
house,
They're the
right?
first
And
one
due to their
every time.
SEO.
So
and
now I spend more of my time and efforts on SEO. I push our sites to number one.
Yeah.
When we do our listings, all my listings have individual websites, and I push all mine SEO. So you're right.
You do a
When
great
somebody-
job with that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
well, I think it.
So when people search that, Grand Blanc homes for sale, Clarkson homes for sale, Novi homes for sale, when I list a house, that home is number one. So my team of marketing people behind the scenes are way better than I am, but they just know how to do the Google AdWords behind the scenes and the keywords and all that other fun stuff. I learned a new term the other day. It's called geofencing, which is kind of cool.
It's really cool.
But never really knew much about it.
What is it?
It's actually where, so you go on Amazon, right? I guess speaking of Amazon, you want to buy a new set of golf clubs. You're searching some golf clubs, right? You decide not to buy them at that point, but you go on to Facebook later on and you're looking on Facebook.
It'll follow you.
I looked
it
up
sees you, right?
Dyson vacuum, and every single thing I look at, whether it's on my computer, my phone,
That's kind of
Got a
cookie.
Dyson.
It's cookies too, though.
Yep.
Geofencing
Yeah,
is
cookies
more
and
location based
geofencing.
as well.
Yep.
It's like
Yeah.
geofencing. Like for me,
But it
I
will-
can
it will go
as
from
I pull
platform
down
to
my road
platform.
to my house. geofencing allows like my garage door just open automatically because it knows I'm getting close to my house.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just part of geofencing.
it's interesting too, and I noticed that I was reading something the other day, like YouTube ads, depending on where, because sometimes your phone will ping off another server
Right.
in another area, and you'll get those ads, right? So I was getting ads the other day for like an election in Minnesota, like constantly, and I like reset my settings, and then it was all like Bill Schuette ads, like all day.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, shut the fuck up.
So
Yeah, so that, I guess in a roundabout way, Paul, you're right. Zillow's going to change the market in a lot of ways because there's going to be a lot of agents that are newer agents that buy leads that have become dependent on the nipple, so to speak, with them, that they can't
It'll
get
be
away
much
from
easier for them to recruit, right?
Yeah.
And I think that as an agent, like to your point earlier, like could I take that 1,500 and spend it elsewhere? I think you already have like a business up and running. I think what can I do in addition to instead of in lieu of spending 1,500? Like, hey, that's working. You're getting $4,000 a month. Why don't you take $3,000 a month of that, or 1,500 of the profit of that, and invest it in Facebook marketing or something like that? That's more sustainable. And then, hey, when it goes dry, you just cut it off.
Right.
My whole thing is as a real estate agent and as a loan officer, but more for you guys, the market is changing. The way the business is being done is changing. There's no way around it.
It has changed.
What are you guys seeing that you need to do, because we have a lot of agents that listen. What does a real estate agent need to look out for right now, and how are you thinking about the future and how you need to evolve? Because if you don't evolve right now, you're dying. You're dead, right?
Yep.
So what do you guys see coming down? What do you guys see that you need to do to change? Because what worked then will not work tomorrow.
You wanna take that first?
Of course I do, Darren. Why wouldn't I? So for me, I'm focusing more on technology.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm 94% referral basis.
Yeah.
So I know that it does last. I'm very good at getting those clients back, getting their friends, getting their family. But I know I want to get bigger.
Right.
So you really do need to tap into that cold market. So I'm really hitting on technology. Where I can get them. Me different than him. I'm not used to converting those cold leads.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
So that for me is a huge learning curve.
That's like Paul and I. Like I don't like when I get a lead on the phone. I'm like,
Today, Junior. Yeah, that's what I feel like. He's like, and he'll be like, "What? Why didn't you say that?" And I'm like,
but I'll
I
convert
don't-
like 95% of my
Yeah.
referrals.
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
so it's
my
like,
referrals are amazing.
Yeah.
But it comes down to a cold lead, and I'm like,
What are you going to do when margins get compressed? Because it's going to happen.
well,
You build value.
here's like
That's what you do.
But if someone else is providing the same value,
Here's what I
at a
wonder,
lower
though.
margin.
Here's what I was thinking earlier and yesterday is that who is more at risk to margin compression and the threat from, like, let's say a Redfin or a Zillow or a buyer's agent or a listing agent? Because really,
The buyer's agents are going to suffer way more.
Yeah. Big
Yeah, the
think?
buyer's
Oh, yeah,
agent.
buyer's
Yeah,
agent.
they're going to have
because
a hard time.
I also think that they're doing, not to be quoted here, but most of the work, right? Like they're out showing the homes for hours and hours. Like a lot of times I feel like in this business, to a degree, we're overpaid per hour, right? Like sometimes you
yeah.
get a slam dunk
Sometimes you're
500.
overpaid,
Sometimes you
Sometimes
feel
you're
like that.
underpaid, and there's averages,
and there's a
right?
balance.
But I bet that average would probably average out to less than 3% on a listing. Hours put in, depending, right?
This
Depending
summer?
in the market and where
Absolutely
you're
not this
at,
summer.
right?
Depending
But
on the market, where you're
if
at,
you
and
put
what you
in
spend.
hours put into the listing versus hours put into the buyer, and not necessarily that is the determination of who's going to suffer more from margin compression, right? Because like you said, leads are mostly buyers' leads; they're not sellers' leads. So
Right.
who will own that will probably be the technology and the Zillow and the Redfin
Right.
and whatnot, which will probably end up compressing their margins. But overall, Zillow could also compress the overall margin of the transaction and say, all right, now if we double dip a deal, it's 4% as opposed to 6%. We can still afford to pay this buyer's agent the same whether we were charging 3% or 2%. So
Yeah.
The one thing I would say to that, and I've thought about that a lot, Sal, to be honest with you. I've spent a lot of time kind of combating where we're going to go at, because you're right. This market's shifting. Zillow's coming to major player. Amazon's coming on board.
Redfin,
technology,
Open
Redfin,
Door.
technology makes
technology
it a
is
lot
making-
easier to do this.
You're right. It does. But here's the thing that I've come to realize: nothing replaces my boots on the ground
Don't
Nothing
say that.
replaces my replace.
Those are famous last words. Those are famous fucking last words. What I do is better. Or
But-
like
yep.
no, those are like Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Blockbuster's theory was people like coming into our store and getting fucking popcorn and potentially seeing their neighbor in the
did.
store.
They
I
like
did.
They like
Blockbuster
they like
still around. I'd be like,
There's one left. There's
no part of
when
that. Part of
Netflix
One
that.
left. I think there's one left.
You see
Red-
what I'm saying? Those are famous last words because
Yep.
if okay, this is where it's going.
Yep.
Regardless if you think your way's better, right? And Blockbuster's like, yeah, we got something good. It feels better here.
But here's
where's,
the problem with
where's
Blockbuster. Blockbuster didn't evolve. Okay,
They didn't evolve,
so,
right?
So you take the nothing beats my boots on the ground and my relationship with the clients and my ability to communicate with clients. Right? Think about this now, guys. How often do you not call tech support for something or customer service for something because you're not getting a person on the phone that's live or knows what the hell they're doing?
Always.
Brutal, right? So
Here, check out our
what
fact.
do you think the difference is going to be if they can call me direct and talk to me and say, "Hey, Darren, I'm not sure why my house isn't selling. Can you come over and talk to me about it?" Or my house hasn't sold. Can you come talk to me and tell me what your opinion is? Or let me call 1-800-ZILLO and blah 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 and get somebody that don't have an
that sounds
idea
so
on who
painful.
they're talking to.
There is something to be said
When you
for
said
that.
1-800
Exactly.
Zillow, I just
So
wanted to like
you got to
slam my head into
infuse
the
that
table.
with technology.
Yes.
To be able to offset that balance, of what they're offering, because it's not always about the discount. It's not. I mean, people know there's a value there to a certain point. Now, granted, there's going to feel a press all the way across the board. There is listing side, buy side. There's going to be a press. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That we can't get away from that. But those agents that are really putting forth the effort and the value of what they provide to their client, people still pay a value. You still see high-end stores. Apple, the most expensive product on the market for technology, for phones and computers. People still buying them? You still buy them? You got an iPhone, don't you, Paul?
No.
No,
Oh,
None
of you guys do?
I'm Android.
I do.
Okay,
I'm Android.
okay.
Paul's different.
But you go and buy it because you like the Apple product, right? You got one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
They're heaven.
Sorry.
But no, seriously, you could buy an Android for cheaper.
Yeah.
Or you could buy a Windows computer for cheaper. But still, people still go to the Apple store and buy them.
Yeah,
Why?
I love my Mac.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, but I love it.
yeah.
I feel like they last longer. They
brainwashed.
probably don't. But
Ultimately,
Probably don't.
too, it's like you often, you don't see people like ordering cars online. They go to the dealer, they test it out. They, there's people involved. There's a
Yep.
salesman, and eventually, I mean, somewhere in the future when people are riding around on hoverboards and your phone is this clear little plastic screen on your eye, maybe you will, right? Maybe you will buy a house online.
Right.
But technology's
We're not there yet. I
Yeah,
guess, yeah,
technology's
we're
not there yet to like completely replace
I don't
us.
think the agent's ever going to go.
But
there.
I think the
No,
question right
I agree with
now
that.
is that we're aware of what's going on. We're aware of what the technology and the big conglomerates of Zillow and whoever you want to add into that bucket are going to be changing the market to a degree. Are you going to, in Blockbuster's analogy, are you going to be Redbox or are you
Right.
going to be Netflix?
Right.
How
I've
are you
never
going
used
to?
a Redbox.
Yeah,
Nobody has.
because it was trash.
It's-
So what's the next step and where are you going to align yourself, right? Like what are you going to adapt? How are you going to accept it and how are you going to move forward?
All right, just to wrap this up, obviously, I mean, I think personally, like if I was a real estate agent or more, like we got to really start thinking, like, do you really want to start paying into like replacing yourself? Like, I just think it's crazy that we pay all this money. They're getting billions of millions and
We're
millions
paying
of
them
dollars.
to take our job.
Yeah, so we got to like either need to like
That's exactly what's happening.
like I don't know, man. It's a crazy thing that's happening. It's not going to stop. It's
Well,
going
you
to keep
guys,
going.
and on the mortgage side, you should be scared of it too.
Oh, yeah.
Because
They own a
the
mortgage
same
company.
things happen. They own a mortgage company already.
We pay Zillow.
yeah.
Yep.
Whatever.
It's just a matter of time.
So I think it's just something to be aware of. I think it's going to develop even more. It's not just Zillow. It's Open Door. There's all these companies that are going to be doing this.
Imagine if Facebook wanted to open a mortgage company.
Yeah, bro. We're
Oh, it's
fucked.
just around the corner.
Boom,
Don't
it's
give them
over.
ideas, bro.
So,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not gonna be
They're
long.
listening always.
Think of the data that they own. I mean, my gosh.
yeah. The
Okay.
amount of marketing, I mean,
I did want to talk about the economy a little bit, real quick. Friday, the jobs report came out, and I'm big on this. I really think. I mean, everybody's talking about the recession and the downturn, and it's coming. But the reality is what
The shift.
the shift. So, but the reality is, I think if jobs are good, we're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like on Friday, jobs report came out. They were expecting 190,000 new jobs that were created, that were going to be created. It came out. It was 250,000, way over expectations. Hourly earnings, which is the big part of this, They're up 5 cents, which is month over month, which is the best since 2009. The other thing that I thought was a crazy stat, unemployment is at 3.7%. That's the lowest since 1969. Think about that. So our jobs market is really, really, really healthy. And all this other stuff that's going on, interest rates going up. I mean, this is fuel for the Fed to say, hey, we can afford to get higher rates, right? So do not expect rates to go down, right? Anybody that's right now, here's what's happening with a lot of people. Oh, I'm thinking about buying a house. I'm going to wait because rates are not whatever. Well, guess what, dude? Rates are not going to get any better than they are right now. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up having to buy a house because you probably have to buy a house. I had a baby, but I'm going to wait. I need more room. I'm going to wait a little bit and see what happens. Well, guess what, dude? Your waiting is going to cost you money, right?
Home prices are going up. Rates are going up. The cost of money is not getting any cheaper.
No.
If you need a house, buy it.
Buy it now.
Yes.
Right?
And use a great agent because don't use Zillow.
I don't think people get but I don't think people
I know
do you
two
agree
right
with that,
here.
Nicole?
Yeah, it's too good.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, I just posted something about it, I think 2 days ago.
Right.
About
It's
what?
not going to get cheaper
Buy
to
now.
buy a house.
Yeah,
Rates
buy-
are going
it's
up. It's going to cost you more. You're gonna afford less of a house.
Literally now too,
in the
because
spring.
the winter time.
Yeah.
You want to buy the
Yeah,
house
actually,
in the winter.
wintertime is the best time to buy a house.
Absolutely.
No
There's less
competition.
competition on the
Yeah.
market.
You get
and
more.
You get
You get
better
better
deals on your
deals.
homes. Everybody keeps saying, "Well, we'll wait till the rates go down in spring."
Rates aren't going down.
Yeah.
Rates
Home
aren't going
prices
down.
go
And
up.
prices go.
Market's
Home prices
competitive.
go up, and there's more competition. So we're right back in the same boat we were, a year ago.
So how do you get that word out to the consumer? Like the consumer that's like,
we come on a show with you and tell everybody.
nobody's watching this. Nobody watches this. We got like 4 listeners.
Don't lie, Darren. I went into Darren's office a week or two ago. Darren's got like a whole team of people that are just on the phones all day long, educating people, telling them like how he adds value and how he can sell their house. It's crazy. Like Inside Sales Mortgage, like you go to like a Quicken Loans, it's just a rows of people on the phones calling people to sell them stuff. I never pictured a real estate office like that. I've never seen one like that, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, and Sally, I think you agree with this, is that if you're a consumer right now and you even have an inkling of buying a house, like you should do it now.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people don't necessarily listen to the professional all the time. They take advice from like their parents.
Uncle
or
Bob.
Tilly's.
Yeah.
Listen,
Aunt Tilly.
Right. Well, and while history repeats itself, I don't think it ever repeats itself in the same way. Right. It's always different. There's always a war. There's always a crash. There's always a recession. There's always a boom. But it's different every time. And I don't know. I get it. Right, but I'm like, dude, put your dad on the phone and let me just talk to him. Like
So funny.
your
How does
dad's
that work
telling
out
you
for
this,
you?
and it's like,
I say the same thing.
So let me talk to your dad.
and they're
Bring
like,
your dad to the show.
hey, let's.
My
well,
dad says
I put it in a different way, but like, hey, let's
Yeah.
conference your dad and talk.
Right.
And by the end of that phone call, he's like, oh, I didn't know you didn't have to put 20% down to
Right.
avoid PMI or whatever. Like, so it's like, yeah, man, like.
Times have changed. Products have
When you-
changed.
yeah. I understand you
let's
bought
stop
your
out of
last house in
1980
1982.
right?
Right, and now things
we're
are a little
now-
different, and you've read a couple like Bloomberg articles and think you're, Mr. Wizard for your kid, but like ultimately,
CNN said.
and hey, I get it, you want to protect them, but let's talk about it, right? Let's figure it out. Let's talk about the actual facts so you can make a good decision, whether that's to buy now or wait or do this mortgage or not. Like, it makes sense or it doesn't, and if you aren't educated, you can't really make a good decision.
So you're suggesting, which I agree with, is listen to the fucking professional that you're talking to. Right? Is that it?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
and make sure the professional you're talking to
Is a professional.
And if
is
you
a
don't,
professional.
if you don't
and if
trust,
and if you don't like what they've got to say, interview a second one.
Get a
Right.
second opinion,
Yeah, get
And-
some
and-
other
and if you
opinions,
get-
and if
then
they
you
all are
get
pretty
two-
similar.
two obviously varying opinions, get a third.
Yeah.
You know, and go with the one the two that said the same thing. Every person I meet with, I talk to about listing their home and selling their home and such. I encourage them. We want to talk to a couple agents. Matter of fact, here's a couple of them. Go call them and talk to them. I'm not afraid of what I've got to say because I'm educating you on how to sell your home.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I know that my product is a better product.
And I think that
I know that
I think. Sorry to cut you off, but I think like what separates someone who's like a true professional and someone who's just working for that commission on that deal is the fact of being able to say, yeah, whatever. Like when someone calls me, I'm like, listen, one, it'd probably be wrong of me to tell you not to go around and shop. But the reality is here's why this loan's better for you. Go do it. Call me back. If they do have something better, I'll see what I can do. But like most of the time, it's not. Or, you know, it's like, well, that looks better, but they're charging you this. It's going to cost you that much more in closing. Hey, their PMI is double the price of ours, right? So it's not always like, unfortunately, at least in the mortgage side, it's not black and white. It's not clear cut.
You know, and to piggyback on that, as we were talking about compressing value and compressing amounts and margins and things, you know, that's a great point to that, is because I can't tell you the amount, and I'm sure you get it too, Nicole. People will go and they'll list with somebody for 4%. You know,
Touché.
They happen all the time. Oh, this agent said they do it for 4%. 2 months later, I get the phone call that said, I never should have went with that agent. Can you come out? I know it's going to cost me 2% more, but I know you're going to actually get my house sold. Right. You get it all the time too,
Yep.
I'm sure.
I've got 2 right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, nothing beats that value that people see in that. When you encourage them, go talk to other people. Go
Right.
say, I'm putting my best foot forward, and I know our product is a good product, and it's the right product for you. You know, but encourage you. You know, hey, go ahead, go try
Listen,
it.
In a transaction so important and so large in your life as selling or buying a house, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't want to use a fly-by-night shop. You don't want to.
Well, I think that
you want to use a professional.
It
that's
can
gonna
be
add
so
value
easy
and do
if
it.
you work with the right people.
Exactly.
Right? It's like,
Or it could be your worst nightmare.
if you just want to put it on autopilot and get the check, hire a good agent and pay the
Yeah.
commission, right?
Yeah.
If you want to kind of do this, like, you know, I couldn't tell you how many times someone's flat listed a house for, you know, $500 or whatever, and they told them we're just basically not going to do shit. We'll list it on the MLS, and if
Those
you
are
got an
horrible.
issue, call the seller. Like, I've called the agent. You know, hey, the appraisal's scheduled, right? Trying to be proactive. He's like,
I don't care.
sweet, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I really
why are you
could
calling
care
me? Is
care
there an
less.
issue? Is this going to close or not? I could care less either way. They've already paid me, right?
Yeah. And
So
the
it's
appraisal
like-
comes in low, and then there's nobody to.
Yeah, now I got to call
you
the
know?
seller who's like, what do you mean? Let me look at the appraisal, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't they use the comp from, you know, 2 miles away that was sold for $600,000 in my house? Man. It's like
what
no
they
one
sound like?
understands, you know, and often I
Yeah.
think something that helps with your background too, because I go through this all the time, is like having that diverse background on your end, right? Being able to understand like appraisals and things like that definitely helps. And obviously doing 125 deals a year also helps with that, like picking the right comps, choosing what to sell it for. Guy you pay $500 will list it for whatever you want.
Right.
The guy
Some
you pay
pictures and throw it up
3%
on
will
the
get your
MLS.
house sold for the most that he thinks he can without
Yep.
Or
causing
6%,
issues.
not 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the reality. You know, you pay for what you get. I mean, truthfully, people still shop at expensive stores for expensive items because they like the best things.
Sal.
You know, you
Come
know.
on.
Does anybody here have a Rolex? I would like to have a Rolex one day.
Don't do that. So here's what I mean.
Man.
Here's what I will tell you, and just to wrap this
Why,
part up.
you
Are
gotta-
Darren and I the only ones that don't have Rolexes?
I don't have.
know.
I purchased a Rolex.
I know she did.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Did you lose it?
No, I bought it for my wife. He's a dickhead. I just gave it to her for her birthday.
I think he was calling out Sal more than anything.
Oh, you have a
Sal,
Rolex?
Sal and
He's
I
got
are
a
both
couple.
watch guys.
Yeah.
But I love that's one thing Sal and I got is, and I'm a watch guy too, and I dig that, Sal. I mean, the watches are awesome.
Well, you have to appreciate I don't buy a Rolex because it's a Rolex and I can flaunt it around. I buy it because it's one of the
badass.
finest watches.
It's a
that-
badass watch.
And they hold their value, to
Yep.
be honest. I mean, that's the biggest reason.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
like, well, I could buy it for what I paid or sell it for what I paid for it.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Good to know.
Yeah. All right.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Next
Man.
week on
That
Watch
make
Talk.
you feel better?
Yeah. I thank you.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Good
Thank you.
investment. It was a good investment.
Great.
There you go.
That's all I care about at this point.
Last thing on this topic is basically, I think what people don't realize, everybody's waiting for the downturn, and everybody has this echo effect from 2008, and they think that the housing prices are going to crash. They're not. They're not going to
Nope.
crash. And the reason they're not going to crash is because the housing market's much healthier. It's propped up on actual good loans. You're not going to have foreclosures, rampant foreclosures. It's going to be very different. Like if we have a recession, which we'll have a recession, probably 2020, 2021. The housing market is a lot more insulated than it used to be. So if you're looking for that deal, dude, you might get
Not
a
happening.
3% correction, 2% correction. There might be something small like that, but it's not going to be like, oh, I can buy pennies on the dollar again.
Yeah, it's not gonna
Right?
No, we're not
There'll
going
be
to see
not
that.
there'll be
happening.
pockets of it. There's it's
And I
There's
mean,
always
but-
pockets.
there's
But here's
always
the
gonna be
problem.
pockets, but
There's go-
overall-
there's going to be so many investors that
Yeah.
are jumping on those that all it's going to do is drive the price rate back up
Yep.
again. So
Yeah, it's,
I mean,
it's the housing market
It's
is
not.
not what it was in 2008, people. So don't expect this like massive gluttony of like foreclosures and cheap houses and people not making their mortgage payments. Again, jobs are good. People can afford their payments. They're not going to foreclose. And the foreclosure rate's going to be, whatever. My whole point
You're
is.
not going to all of a sudden have $200,000 worth of equity 3 years later,
Right.
right? But there's still deals to be had out there if you have money
Yeah.
right now, and you can, scoop a house up that needs work.
Equity acceleration is probably going to slow down, which is fine. I think again
because it's been
it's
growing
healthy.
at an exponential
Everything-
rate the last few years.
It was getting too hot, people.
Yeah.
Like what we're going through right now is very healthy. Nothing forced the housing market to slow down. It was a natural slowdown that people were like, okay, let's chill out a little bit, and like it's really healthy. If it kept going at the trajectory that it was, it would have just it would just
blown up like a
It
firework.
was too hot.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, think how good that recession was to so many people who bought homes during it, right? I mean,
Yep.
to put
I made a lot of money on my house.
$150,000 in your pocket, and most people, I mean, it's crazy right now. You're talking to people that in the past couple of years, it's like, how much do you have to put down? Well, I got like, my realtor says I'm going to net like $100,000. These people make like 35, 40 grand
Yeah.
a year. It's like, wow.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot. I put it all in the bank and put minimum down, brother.
Yeah.
Because you probably won't ever save that.
Right.
You know? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously that's our take on that. So yesterday we had the elections that went down
We got to get into politics.
a little bit, just a little bit.
One in particular.
Democrats won the House, which was cool. They lost some.
I mean, you want to get into politics?
Okay, I know. Did we just get a whoop whoop?
You did.
It's good. Look, again, I think there's good checks and balances happening there. The stock market really likes it. It's way up today that I looked at before we started the show. So the market's really happy with what happened. What I'm more interested in is pot passed here in Michigan. For those of you that are across the country and in Sweden, I don't know. It's weird. We got a big population in Sweden that listens to the show. We just basically legalized pot in Michigan.
It's not legal yet.
10 days from now it'll be.
Right.
That's
For
what
real?
it is. It'll
I
take
didn't
10
know
days for it
10
to
days.
process after the elections results are
It's
vetted.
vacation time.
So there's some points on the pot thing. You got to be 21 years old to have it. You can have up to 2.5 ounces, which if people that don't smoke pot or haven't had pot, that's a lot of pot.
2.5 ounces. Holy cow.
That's a lot. You could have 10 ounces in your house, and you can grow up to 12 plants. We probably won't see like commercial use of it until about 2020 because there's a lot of laws that have to go into place. But I guess my question, because this does tie into real estate a little bit,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And what happened in Denver, there was this there was a lot of money that was made through the pot industry, and there were people that started making it. A good friend of mine, Scott Rybicki, how are you, buddy? He's making a lot of money because he's got dispensaries now, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back into the economy. It's not just the revenue that you're going to make that are going to go to schools and all that. There's going to be people that are going to make a lot of money on pot, and it's going to create wealth, and that'll get distributed, right?
White Castle's going to go crazy.
White Castle's going to do real well. Taco Bell stock is up.
7-Eleven's coming back.
7-Eleven is good. Give me those taquitos. I want some Funyuns.
Give me a bag of Doritos and I'm ready to go.
So
And a Mountain Dew.
What do you guys think as far as the real estate market? I mean, I think it was funny. I was reading Facebook yesterday. There's agents who were like, "Well, people are going to want bigger backyards now."
Pole barn in the back.
Right? It's
Fenced in pole barn.
and I saw a real estate agent today post, "Hey, pot just got legalized. Anybody that's looking for a grow house, I'll help you find it." Like it's going to change. It's already happening, right? So what do you guys see as far as that? I mean, I know it's not going to change the market
This one's
completely.
all you.
This is all me.
Is it because
Yeah.
Darren
You know,
smokes a lot of pot?
I've never have in my whole life, to be honest with you. So ironically, but
You look high right now.
it's because I'm around you guys. No, it's ironic. I actually got 3 phone calls in the last week with the anticipation of this law passing that they want to buy, a grow
house,
facility.
yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
But
It's going to happen.
previous to this, it's really had a negative effect on the market because people that they grew and then they moved on and they grew and they moved on and it made a stigma in the house because of the smell or what have you. But I think what you're finding now with the legalization is that you're right. It's going to be the pole barn is going to be a huge and a fenced yard is going to be huge. I think that the sides of the lots are going to, are going to be a really high demand. And pole barns, homes with pole barns are going to explode.
And I think
because
houses in
gonna
I'm
come
all
down.
for it. Just please quit growing in your basement.
because
Yeah.
it smells
It
real
like
bad.
really
yeah.
stinks up the house. I've sold 3 of them this year.
You have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please quit.
Yeah.
And people can't get rid of the smell.
Here's
Yeah,
the
it's very
thing, though, right?
difficult.
It's going to come down to the way it's implemented, right? Just because it's legal to grow 12 plants in your house and have a couple ounces in your bedroom doesn't mean
10 ounces.
Yeah. Okay. 2.5.
It's
on
a couple
your person.
couples.
But anyways, listen. It's like
Wow, you got it this down
it doesn't
pat, Paul.
mean that all of a sudden you're gonna have this grow house and start, shipping ounces to the dispensary every day and making tons of money. It's like you
No.
can't sell it.
No, there's gonna be a
Yeah, it's
process.
personal
So what
use.
type of licenses are going to be handed out, right?
It'll be like
'Cause
alcohol.
The commercialization, the giant commercial licenses, they're only handing out like
A handful of those things.
7 or 10 in the state. So
There's license for
there's going to be mid-level ones or low-level ones. So
there's 2,000 plants. There's 500 plants, 2,000 plants, and 20,000 plants. Those are the or
Paul's
10.
really well versed in
Yeah,
this.
I read up on it last. I was really interested in it.
Jesus.
Well, my buddy does
He
it.
was
So I
stoned,
was
like, I'm
like,
gonna read this.
With a bag of Doritos and a taco.
tell you, man, taquitos are everything. So yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to create some wealth. I think there's going to be money that goes into the market. I think houses will get. I think the rural areas are going to see more
I tell you,
development because
to be
of it.
honest with you, I think one of the things that's going to really impact in a positive fashion is areas that maybe struggled in commercial. Would you think, Nicole?
Yeah.
Like Dort Highway,
rural areas.
So,
I was gonna say,
some
like
of the
these
areas
warehouses, yeah.
Yep.
the old warehouses that have just been sitting and not really doing much of anything because they got 3-phase electric in them. They've got high capacity air conditioning systems in them. I think that you're going to see a rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation.
Wow, that was really easy for me to say.
Rejuvenation.
Of some of those blighted properties, I think you're going to see start happening.
Well, not only that, like I know up in you're up by the Flint area market, and it's marijuana's been decriminalized in the city of Flint for a long time, and there's dispensaries all around. But I think you're going to see some of the stigma of the markets directly around those facilities kind of go away. So people aren't going to be as
Against it.
turned off
Yeah.
to live
I'd-
closer
When they
to a
s-
dispensary.
Yeah.
Listen,
I've got a strip mall right now listed. It's 22 units, I think it is, or what have you. And I got a call the other day that said, hey, I want to put an offer in contingent upon this law passing because the facilities are big enough and it's in the city of Flint, and the facility's big enough and it's got the right capacity that I want to turn it into grow operations. And each unit would have a separate grow operation. I said, well, why don't we just wait 3 days and see if it passes and then do it?
Right, instead of the contingency.
Instead of contingent upon a law passing that,
they want to have a continue. That's
it'd be
interesting.
kind of cool. I mean, just a odd thought here, but there's like hair studios where like they have like 20, 30 units in there, and each hairdresser like rents
you
it
hit
out.
it right on the head, Sal, because that's actually what he wants to do.
That's
He wants
He's
to
got
rent out.
22 units and he wants to
Whoa.
rent each
He'll
unit out.
set it all up like
This guy's name, he's
with
a
the-
genius.
He's
Yeah.
a genius.
Dude, there's gonna be a lot of innovation around it. It's
Well,
it's an
think
open
about it.
market.
When you
And
can buy-
back to
when
your
you can buy
point, it's
something
gonna go
like that
back
for
into the
$400,000,
communities.
and
Yeah.
you can rent out 22 units at whatever per month.
Especially in
1,500 a
Flint.
month.
1,500 a month, and they pay all their electric and everything else, and they've got a secure facility that they can grow their marijuana in now. I mean, what better? And they don't have to have it in their house, and they could just drive up, go and lock their door, go in.
Anyone
do their
listening
thing.
out there wanting to get in on this, Flint has a ton of properties like that. Get a hold of Darren and Nicole, 'cause they'll hook you up.
All right, guys, we're running short on time here. This is what I want to do. Darren, give me one piece of advice that you give a consumer looking to buy a house, and Nicole, give one piece of advice for someone looking to sell a house.
Ooh, opposites.
Oh yeah, that really changed things up, didn't it?
Shake it up.
One thing about buying a house is don't wait. Now is the time. There's less competition out there of buyers that you've got to bid against, where you were seeing multiple offers in the summer, and don't wait for rates to go down because they're not. So Christmas time, this holiday time, truthfully, is the best time of the year to buy.
Yeah.
Now through January is the best time of the year to buy. I would say don't delay. Get your pre-approval. Get your pre-approval from Omega Lending. Get your
Thank you.
Get your best deal that they're going to offer you right there, and then turn around and call me. Call my 800 number. Call me. Look
How can they get a hold of you? Go ahead and go in.
855-58-HOMES.
That's your number?
That's my number.
Wow.
855-58-HOMES.
Is there a jingle?
855-58-HOMES.
There is now.
Can we cut that?
Call me today.
Wow. Interesting.
Man.
No, I mean, yeah, call us. Don't hesitate. That's the biggest factor. Don't hesitate. If you're even thinking about it right now, do it. Or at least call us and have the consultation.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and at least put together a game
Okay,
plan.
you're
of what
going
that
on and
looks
on
like.
now. We get it.
Buy a house.
Buy now.
Buy now.
Sell
Sell
now.
now.
So
What's your advice?
Nicole,
Sell now.
Nicole Pfaff with a silent P.
Sold by silent
selling
P.
a house. What advice?
I think this one goes both ways.
Okay, that's interesting.
I know, right? Kind of comical.
Especially for us.
Yeah. God, shut up. Quit hiring Aunt Sally and your buddy Joe.
Oh, God.
Super annoying, especially for other realtors that are professionals to
Yeah.
deal with them. Also, who knows? Likely, most of them can't negotiate. Most of them aren't going to get you the best deal. Same goes for your lender. I quit hiring your buddy Joe.
Yeah.
He probably
Unless we're
doesn't
your
know
buddy.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Like,
he closed
it-
2 transactions
Yeah,
last year.
I just
Yeah.
had one call me yesterday. Wanted me to send her a couple of my pocket listings that they'll sell, but they have to find something. And I'm like, honey, no.
No, that's not how
Go
it works.
hire. She's like, well, my aunt's mom does it, and I'm like,
funny.
get out of here.
So that's good advice. So your advice,
Hire a professional.
professional.
Search for a lender.
Yeah.
Search for a realtor that knows what they're doing, that's familiar with other agents, that's familiar with other lenders.
And you're likely going to pay the same.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
often does family not
You get-
discount
you
it?
know,
You're not
Yeah.
going to
We'll waive our
better
compliance
service.
fee.
Well,
Oh.
think
Right?
about
Yeah.
this
Sweet.
now.
Well,
You
time
know,
ki-
when you hire Aunt Sally and Aunt Sally doesn't work out, how uncomfortable does that make Christmas Eve when you're hanging out with Aunt Sally because you had to fire her from selling
It's that
your
old
house?
saying.
And for
And
someone
Sally's a
who does,
bitch now.
Yeah.
5-6 deals a year, I mean, how likely are they to actually hook you up, right?
Right.
I mean, when
Or
my
yeah,
friends
they're
Not
gonna
only
give you a
that,
deal.
but I can't tell you how many deals we do that I call up and it happens. Hey, Darren, I know you got multiple offers on 123 Main Street. I've got a great buyer. He knows I'm a great agent with a great lender, and this is my buyer's X, Y, and Z. Here's our our best foot forward,
Yeah.
and he knows that it's coming from somebody that sells 125 houses a year that he's had a relationship with, that he can call because Omega Lending's on the back end of
Yeah.
it, and he knows that it's going to get done
It's
in
not-
2 weeks and 3 weeks, and it's a lot different than accepting from somebody that I had one.
Uncle Ted at
Right, and who you
State of
don't
Michigan
know,
Bank
and he
or
never
whatever.
The buy-
answers
the
phone
buyer's
because
my
he's out there in the
nephew.
yard mowing the lawn all
You're
the
not
time
just getting the
'cause
professional.
He's not answering the
You're
phone.
not just getting the professional.
Right.
You're getting their network, which is
Yes.
professional, right? Which
Which
is
honestly,
big.
the network is probably more valuable than the agent. To be
Yeah.
honest with you,
Like, if
the
you-
network we have behind us is probably way more valuable than
Yeah.
either one of us
Yeah,
are.
it's how good is that network, and it's a big deal. How good is that team? It's a whole team thing.
Yeah, is it
Absolutely.
a team or is it a fragmented?
Right.
You know?
Like if you were going to build a house, you wouldn't get your your Uncle Tom who's done some woodwork to make your stairs,
Right.
right? But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's not
You hire a
safe.
professional
Right.
to
Yeah.
build the
You got
stairs.
a heart condition. You don't have your Uncle Bob who was an EMT for 3 years back in 1964 to check out your
and he
heart.
stayed at Holiday Inn last night.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works. All right, Uncle Bob and Aunt Tilly. Sorry, guys. You guys are out. Nicole, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you. Do you have a cool number like the.
I don't have a super cool number, but my number is 810-875-3908.
Say it one more time.
810-875-3908.
Awesome.
What's the email address?
Well, I have teamfaf@kw.com, but my assistant's email, which will always get to me, is soldbysilentp@gmail.com.
Sold by Silent P.
Yes.
All right.
That's
All
my
right, guys.
favorite.
That's
my
what.
That's what you were waiting for, wasn't
Yes.
it?
It was.
Wow.
Hey, my website's soldbysilentp.com.
There you go.
There
Nice.
you go.
All
You
right.
can check
Mine's
it
not
out
as
there.
cool
Twitter,
as yours.
Instagram?
Mine's just like Petterfee Group.
Of course.
It just isn't.
Great.
I want a cool
Well,
name
you're
like
nowhere
yours,
near as
though.
interesting as her, dude.
So can I change mine to not
I mean,
Silent
you want
P?
some, you want
Yeah.
some
Sold by
character
not Silent
highlight.
P?
All right, guys. We got to wrap it up. To the audience, again, go to iTunes. Please go subscribe. Please leave a review. We appreciate the reviews. It helps us grow our audience base. All of you that have listened and have obviously subscribed. And to our listeners in Sweden, we really, really appreciate you guys. Really
That's
checking
really
us out.
awesome.
There's like
Sweden.
yeah,
You realize that this
Yeah,
is now the world
Netherlands.
headquarters?
Sweden, Netherlands.
World headquarters of Omega Lending.
No,
This isn't Omega
No,
Lending.
this is Inside Real Estate.
Inside real
We
estate.
don't even talk about Omega on this thing, yeah.
okay.
Except for today. which
Yeah,
is
we
kinda-
talked a lot about Omega.
So the world headquarters of Inside Real Estate.
Yeah, okay. Show's over, guys. Have a wonderful day.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate,
kinda
the
cool.
nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.
Send me some of those pictures.
And that's the only thing she cared about was the photos.
Oh, I want to post it. It's really cool.
Yeah. No, it'll be
Oh, is she tagged in the post?